Hello and welcome to another episode of Tommy's Trains. The next few videos will be some N scale stuff. I've got some more O scale to do. I want to take a break from O scale for a few days to do some N scale. And I've had a reasonable amount of experience with N scale. I'm more so new to N scale. I've mostly had O27 or O and HO in my 52 years, but I've kind of gotten a lot of N scale stuff in the past few years, and one thing I've found out is pretty much either Atlas or Kato are where it's at for buying N scale trains, and we're gonna do this Amtrak P42 Amfleet 2 Viewliner 1 Intercity Express today, and we're gonna put it on this M1 track, and then I've got some more Amtraks to go over and some other trains that I want to show you. Also, I've got a bunch of Kato parts and pieces, and I don't have a giant place to work with it, so it'll be an abridged setup of these things. Obviously, with the M1 and some of these other parts, I could build a 4x8 layout very simply, but I just don't have the space for that. So here we are with what we have, and without any further introductions, we're going to take this M1 and build a small layout here, and then put this Amtrak on, and we'll test it out and see how that goes. So I'm not gonna lie, I've already had this M1 out. I've got a video that I made with the M1 set and the trestle. So this M1 set has already been taken out, but today we're just gonna make a small M1 with this train set. So one thing I really like about Kato when you buy one of their sets, the packaging is reusable. It's very compact. They come with these little drawers, which you can see I've got full of extra track, and I got some switch parts and pieces up here. So you can have an amount of trains and then just put them in this box. And if you have a couple of these boxes, well, you can pretty much pack up your whole train for the most part. So these aren't throwaway boxes. These are, for keeping. So we just got a bunch of track parts and pieces down here, and I'll have to get a couple parts out, but for the most part, all my parts and pieces are here on the top. These are curves, straights. These are controller, and these controllers are really light, but they're pretty good controllers. I like my MRC controllers for the most part, but what I like about these Kato controllers is that you've got the ports on here to add your switches and your power. I'll show you a number of different things as we go through these series of Kato trains, of all the parts and pieces that you can put on here. And so what's better than having one of these controllers? Well, having two or three. Here's our power. So this has a transformer in it. So all this right here is just your speed controller. This is already bringing this down to like 12 volts and a half. So brings you down from 115 in your house down to like 13. So what Kato has on their controllers, which Bachmann does not, is an actual off switch. They're already ahead of the game. Some of the earlier Bachmann power packs did have an on-off switch on them, and I don't know why. To cheapen it, maybe, I'm not sure. But the Kato ones are much better. Plus, I like blue. This reminds me of a lot of the old Air Force stuff I used to work on from like the 60s. This color was pretty much prominent in a lot of things that they put in. So anyway, let's just make a really quick layout here. So this track has the roadbed molded in, and like I said in some of my other videos, pretty much everybody has their own molded roadbed now. But I've turned into a real track snob as far as the train tracks that I like. And Kato, far and above, Easy Track is okay. And I'm not going to tell you I hate Easy Track, because I have a lot of Easy Track. In fact, that's all I have for HO scale is Bachmann Easy Track. But for N scale, I have found that the Kato is where it's at, and I have since sold every last stick of Bachmann Easy Track that I owned for N scale and replaced it with Kato. So the great thing about N scale is the size. You can put so much more in less space. So if you had the entire space, say, a 4x8, you could build essentially twice as much in the same spot that you could with HO, because N scale is half as big. And then O scale is again twice as big as O, or HO, I'm sorry. So what you can put in an 8-foot area is phenomenal when you get down to something small like N scale trains. So these right here are your short section with a power feed, and it's just a little plug in. It only goes in one way, and there's a notch on both sides, so you can choose which way you want to send it. Now this plug right here is not proprietary from Kato. In fact, you can go and just buy these plugs, and you can make your own longer or shorter power cords or whatnot. So it's a great little plug, like Tamika or something like that. I'd have to look. I've got a bag of them. I'll put it up above. All right, so the cats had knocked the light over and knocked over the camera and knocked everything over, so it caused a mess. And then I just thought everything was fine. I kept recording, so here I am re-recording what I did yesterday. But I wanted to say, when you get these Kato train sets, they come with the N-scale railroad starter guides, and it shows all the additional track packs you can buy, some train designs you can make. It shows you all the ways that you're supposed to set this up. Here's the catalog here with a lot of their stuff in it. So it tells you exactly what you need to create each one of these layouts that's inside here. So it's good reading, good stuff. All right, so the P42 Amfleet 2 Viewliner 1 Intercity Express. So there's the locomotive. Here's a Viewliner sleeper, coach, and coach. So we're going to put those on here, and I've got a lot of other Amtrak stuff out that we'll be running together, and I've also got a double track set up, so we'll get to that. What I wanted to show you about the double track real quick was you can buy this little piece here, and I'll show you that. I'll bring the camera over and show you that. This is the concrete ties, so they don't quite match the wood ties, but the separation is perfect for the double track, and you can run these long passenger cars on this double track without any problems whatsoever. So what this does is I've got a dual feed here, and then I've just got a blank space over there to equal it out. And this dual feeder obviously has two power cords that come out of it, and they go into this one piece right here. So here's the dual feeder here. So you can see the concrete ties don't match the wood, but whatever. Like I said, they might have this in this color, but I didn't see it. So you've got these two leads that come out, and then they go to the back here, and your power feed control switch, and there's the part number, and it's right here. So you've got a feed coming off the back of this, which plugs in here because you've only got one speed controller, and you have two outputs, in and off and on switch. So with it on, it runs both tracks. With it off, it runs one. And the other side, as you can see, is a matching spacer. So there's the power feed control switch. Concrete tie double track feeder with a 2 7/16 inch straight. So we'll start out in grams. Here's our locomotive, and if you stick around, you'll see I've got some close-ups of this and all the detailing. I haven't put the trips on or anything yet, so that still needs to be done. So if you remember, those Bachmann coaches were around 3 ounces. This is 121.3 grams, 4.279, so 4.3. We'll round up 4.3 ounces. So already heavier than those Bachmann HO scale coaches. Here's the Superliner, or the Viewliner sleeper, We're at 1.259, so 1.3 ounces and 35.7 grams. The coaches both weigh exactly the same. I've already done that. 31.4 grams, 1.108 ounces, and just to verify, 1.086. So pretty close. I might not even have the same right one anymore. I might have switched them. So at this point, I've got a lot of stuff going on here. Regardless, the absolute easiest way to put these on the track is with this included Kato railer, and it just sets on here right down the ramp. And the way it tells you to set this up is the locomotive, 2 coaches, and then the view liner at the end. Assemble on an absolutely straight section. The couplers don't really extrude out towards the end very far. And I'll be putting those trips on eventually. I'll have to put them on before one of these videos because they're required. Okay, so there's the train all set up, and I'm just going to take this other train here and put this on the other track. All right, so I've got the Intercity Express, and I added another coach. I had extra coaches, so we've got a baggage on there and 3 coaches. And on here I've got 3 coaches, and I've also got the sleeper. And here's the electric locomotive that I'm going to put on the end of this train. It'll make it bi-directional. All right, so on this train I've got an F unit, and it's so tiny. I used to think the F units are big, but they're so tiny compared to these new locomotives. They're like 3/4 the size. That's crazy. So you can run 2 trains simultaneously here, just using one power pack. And it's just the precision of these trains. They're creeping right now, and it's amazing. The first trains you get as a kid, they're like jerky, and even the Lionels are like that. If you don't have the right train, the Lion Chiefs have the locomotive motion, but a lot of them, they don't. They just they have some speed control, but they're not like this. We'll turn that down, and then we'll reverse, and these locomotives have directional lighting too, which is it's crazy. So again, 4 unit set, the Amtrak P42 Intercity Express, and like I said, you can get this 3 ways. You can buy this just the locomotive and the cars like this, or you can get it with the entire train set with the M1 set with it. So it's great that you can get it that way. And I also have this locomotive separately. You can just buy that if you want. So it's exactly what I've been talking about with the Lionels. I don't want to buy a whole set. I've already got enough track. I've already got stuff. I don't want to keep buying more power packs and more track. I just want the locomotive, or I just want the locomotive, the train set with the train and the cars. So really like that with Kato, that I'm not limited to having to buy an entire tire set. I can just buy the pieces that I want. Now, if you look when it goes by, you'll see the directional lighting on the locomotive. So here's our locomotive, and we'll take a look at that. My camera will focus. There it goes. So the logos, the graphics, those vents inside the cab, the metallic paint, door hinges, all the detailing on the trucks. There's our exhaust. Horns. Looks like it even has a snowplow on it. Here's our coach. Just the minuscule graphics on here. They're amazing. Here's our trucks. Diaphragms. And let's take a look at the view liner. It takes a second for the lens to figure out what I'm trying to do. And I love that. I prefer if things would be made in the USA, but made in Japan. Japan's a big ally of ours, and I don't have a problem because at least I know the Japanese know how to make stuff that's nice.